and then we come back to you. Hello, everyone. I'm Nora Armani, founding artistic director of the Socially Relevant Film Festival, New York. And this is our 10th. Wow, I can't believe it's been 10 years. This is our 10th anniversary edition. And this is the first Meet the Filmmakers session of our 10th anniversary edition. This year, we have a huge selection of films for you. And I am so happy to talk to all the filmmakers on a regular basis. We start today and every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 1:30 for an hour. We talk with a group of filmmakers put together from the schedule according to the way the films appear, more or less, as we can accommodate. And we hear their stories behind the scenes, how they made the films, why they made the film they made, and what are their future projects. So it's really exciting to hear the voices of the filmmakers and not just to see their films on the screen. So let me open it and bring in the filmmakers who are here with us in our virtual studio. As you can see, with each one, you have the name of the filmmaker, and between parentheses, you have the title of their film. In the past, I used to do it via banners so that when each one spoke, the banner came up with the name of the film, but there's too many things to juggle. And then we came across a few times of one filmmaker speaking while the other filmmaker's film is the banner is showing the other title. So in order to avoid that type of confusion, I think it's better to have everybody on the same page. We have one more filmmaker who would be joining us, and I'm expecting them any minute soon. But when they come in, we will introduce them. So usually the way this works is we just take a quick round and everybody introduces themselves, saying who they are, what their film is. Of course, we can see the titles, but a little bit more than just the title, by saying not too long, too much, because we want to do the round and then come back and focus on each one of you. So at this point, you just say what it is about, and we keep going. Okay, Andre is here. We'll add him to the stream. Hello, Andre. Great
Hello.
to see you. And I will add the title of your film. I walked with heroes. Okay, there you go. So,
Yep.
as I was saying, we'll just take a quick round. Everybody will introduce themselves, say something about their film, very, very brief, because we're going to come back and have more time with each and every one. Okay, as far as the audience is concerned, we have some viewers who have logged in already, and I would like to welcome them as well and say that in the comments section, you can put your questions. You can either address one particular filmmaker or a general question, and whoever wants to jump in and answer can. Or if it's a question having to do with the festival, then I'll be happy to answer that. Thank you very much, everybody, for making the time in your busy days and being here with us. So let's go to Julia, who I'm going like, I don't know if it's clockwise. Yes, clockwise for me. I don't know if it's the same for everybody else, but for me. So, Julia.
Hi, my name is Julia, and I am a co-director of We Are Here Too, here with Lily. And our film is about four female identifying women of color that use their art during the COVID-19 pandemic to shed light on racism and process everything that they're going through in their predominantly white community in Somerville, Massachusetts.
Very interesting. Then, Lily, we come back to you if you want to say something in addition. Let's go to Anthony.
Hi, my name is Anthony Scalia. I directed a short documentary
about a blind single father who is also a diner owner, and just followed him around for 3 years and his family, watching him, persevere through his disability and operate the diner and raise his children.
Yes. And Lily, your colleague already introduced the film, but you can maybe want to say something additional.
Yeah, I think Julie did a great job summing up what the project is. But yeah, she and I produced and directed this project, and the project took place Somerville, Massachusetts. It's right outside of Boston, and so all the the subjects we highlighted in this project all live in Somerville and have, we just wanted to highlight their, all of them are different age range and ethnic groups. So we just wanted to highlight their experience during pandemic and how a pandemic also shaped their experiences and moving forward.
Nice. Okay, Jenny.
Hi. So, yes, I'm Jenny Alexander. I'm the director of Call to Action, the Freedom Budget of 1966, which dives into the little known history of the way in which the civil rights movement was really an important birthplace of the guaranteed income conversation around having some kind of economic safety net in order to address poverty. So, it's a short film that looks at some of the civil rights leaders and how this idea came into sort of our national conversation.
Very, very interesting. And also, I want to add that your film is screening as part of Black History Month later on this week. Actually, it's not quite the festival dates, but we felt it's so apropos that we wanted to screen it during that week. And Susan.
Hi, I'm Susan Hillary, and my film is The Prat in the Hat. And it's a short documentary about a civil rights leader who has over 300 amazing hats. And it tells her story through seeing also these beautiful hats. So it has pathos and humor, and she's quite an amazing woman.
Yes. And also, your film is also screening as part of, is it Black History Month? Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. And Andre.
Hello. Well, I'm just like listening to everybody's films. I'm like amazed that like it's an honor to be here. Yeah, with your films are great. My film is about I actually this film chose me. I didn't chose it, and it was during the pandemic. I developed a relationship with a 90-year-old, sorry, 98-year-old veteran of two wars, and ironically enough, he was a Trumper. And here's me, I'm like a diehard Democrat. And he was very old, and I actually took care of him. And then he gave me his story. His story, he had survived PTSD, and he actually died in my arms in a way. But it's like a beautiful love story, and I the thesis became as I that you can reach anybody. We're all Americans, and I kind of infected him with my own. It's just you reach people with respect. I respected his patriotism, his age, and he respected my views, and it just comes out in the film. So I don't know what category it would be like. It would fit in, but it's almost like a personal uh, um, documentary.
Yeah, we're screening it on March 20th at MRHS, which is the Morningside Retirement and Health Services Center.
Perfect.
And I am on their board, and they provide services for retired people or aging people to help them stay in their homes and not to have to leave their homes and go to a nursing home or a retirement community. And they provide whatever help is needed, like daily chores or going to the market or the bank, or things that they are not capable to do anymore, and for which they don't necessarily need to leave their homes. So that's why we thought it was very apropos, because your hero is amazing. And I was just going to ask you about 98, and he does a great job in the
Oh
movie.
yeah, yeah. Because he was there's been a lot of stories told about like um, veterans in the war and the Korean War and the World War II, but there hasn't been many stories told about medics. That's why he had PTSD, because he was a nurse, a male nurse. Basically, he walked with the heroes. That means in Marine terms and Navy terms, that means he went in with the troops and he bandaged wounds and sewed arms back together and stuff like that. So he witnessed. He was a witness, and that part was really attractive to me, and because that kind of story was not being told, you
Yeah,
know.
very interesting.
Yeah.
Right. So we are all happy to have these amazing films in the Socially Relevant Film Festival, SRFF 2023, our 10th anniversary edition. So the first question is, of course, each one of you has to, maybe you did say in a way a little bit as you were introducing, but maybe you can go a little bit more elaborating, like Andre said, the film chose him and not him choosing the film, or each one of you, how did the idea of your film come to you? And did you spend a lot of time deciding whether you should do it or not, or was it an immediate reaction? So in this case, let's not go again in order. Whoever wants to jump in, please feel free. Nobody? No takers?
I'll go.
Okay, Susan.
What happened with my film was I was at a political dinner, some fundraiser, one of these, dinners where everyone's sitting at big tables and wearing black suits and sort of a boring event. And I turn around and I see this woman at the back of the room with this beautiful, bright colored outfit on with this amazing hat. And I was just drawn to her. And I initially asked her whether I could photograph her. And then that's when she told me that she had 300 hats. And we started talking, and I realized that in our community in Nyack, New York, she was the president of the NAACP for 40 years. And she started telling me her story, and I realized she really had an amazing story to tell. And she's very witty. She has a certain way of expressing herself. And so it evolved into this film project, basically. But it was really this moment where I thought I'd love to make a coffee table book out of her and her hats. That was really how it evolved. And that's the story of how it happened. And this is the first film I've made after pretty much a 20-year hiatus from making films. Prior to this, I was a feature filmmaker in Los Angeles, and I came back to New York to help my family my parents when they were ill. And so I had taken a break from filmmaking. So this has been really a wonderful experience to get back into it.
Yeah. Well, this is really a very nice, uplifting story, because we get accused of, maybe I shouldn't say accused of, but people point out that most of the films we screen are very depressing and because they're all dealing with such social issues and problems and people's lives and homelessness and climate and women and, trafficking. And then it becomes more and more depressing, and you want to come out of the movie theater and shoot yourself. But but you see films that's why we always are attracted to the films that, despite the fact that they talk about all these social issues and problems, there is always the uplifting element. There is always the one character that makes you smile and even laugh or feel good about yourself and about the world around us. So it's really wonderful. And here all of your films are focusing on individuals who, maybe with the exception of Jenny's, because it's more about the society at large, but we are here too. Bendix, definitely, The Pratt in the Hat, and I Walked with Heroes. They're all about individuals who made a huge difference in everybody's lives. So who wants to jump in next?
I can go.
Yep, go ahead.
So I grew up 5 minutes away from the Bendix Diner. I had passed it my whole life, but had never been in it. And it was the only place that was open one night, and I was hungry. So I went in and sort of found this blind waiter. So, oh my God, how has nobody, done something about this? And so I followed him around. It was difficult to get him to want to do the film with me at first. It really took a lot of convincing. But after the first year, we kind of became friends. And it just evolved naturally over the next two. It took 3 years to do. So I got to know him very well throughout the course of it. But it was just this thing that was hiding in my backyard, that I wasn't aware of. Everybody, again, knew it, but never been in it because there's an old rundown diner. Like, who wants to eat there? But it turned out to be one of the best, stories that I found.
That is such an amazing story. And also, if you followed for a year and it took you such a long time, what I discover each year when we are doing these films and we are talking about the films to the filmmakers, the resilience of the filmmakers comes across, because it's not like, oh, you grab your camera, go out there and make a film, and 5 minutes later, a festival is showing it. I mean, I wish it was as simple as that, but it takes a long time. It takes perseverance. It takes trial and error and trying to convince somebody and so on. And then in the end, you get a movie that people are really astonished about. So it's amazing. You guys, all of you have to see Bendix Sight Unseen. Of course, you have to see all of your films, each other's films.
Wow.
But Bendix Sight Unseen is something. This guy, totally blind, and but he knows where everything is, and he just picks the glass without looking at it and takes it and puts it there. And, it's like unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah. Next, who do we have? Jenny is smiling.
Sure. A call to action actually grew out of another film. So I was working with my colleagues. They were a fabulous team that we were working on a piece about guaranteed income in Chelsea, Massachusetts. During the pandemic, there was a program that would help families with sort of a basic income so that they could cover some of the basic necessities. And this is something that's a pilot program that's actually being tested by cities around the country. And so we were embarking on a film on guaranteed income, and we really wanted to look into the history of it. Where does this idea come from? Because a lot of us kind of came to the awareness of it when Andrew Yang had his presidential bid. I was talking about the freedom dividend. So but really, when we looked into it, the roots of the discussion about guaranteed income in the United States, a lot needs to be credited to the civil rights movement, and very few people know about that. And if they do, maybe they've heard that Martin Luther King supported the guaranteed income and spoke about it, but actually it was even before then, coming out of two very important leaders in the civil rights movement, Bayard Rustin and Philip Randolph, who really had gathered people to talk about how are we going to create freedom. And this was sort of an economic, holistic economic look at how freedom could be achieved. And so basically, we decided to do a small piece on this. It was born of the other of our larger guaranteed income film. And we had an amazing animator working with us on the film, and we had an amazing archival producer, Heather Merrill. And so we really wanted to tell this story in kind of short, compact way to really kind of get out there the role that civil rights had in the conversations that we're having today. So that was sort of the impetus for making the film.
That is so interesting, because we have one of our film festival team members who is viewing, actually. Hi, Ching. Here she is, Ching. And there you go, UBI, Universal Basic Income. And Ching made a film about Andrew Yang and his presidential campaign. And she followed him around and made an amazing movie, which we screened last year in our festival selection. And it got an Ingenuity Award because she filmed the entire thing on her iPhone. And it's a really amazing film, and captures the whole spirit in a wonderful way. And Ching is going to be presenting a smartphone filmmaking workshop on the 21st of March, on Tuesday, from 3:30 to 6 p.m. And everybody who's interested in learning more about how to make a feature documentary on an iPhone are welcome to come. So Ching is asking, Jenny, how wonderful your subject is. There you go. She's sending you a message.
Totally.
And the film is called My Yang Gang Diary.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for posting that. I'm not able to respond, I don't think, but that's really, I'm really looking forward to seeing it. That's great.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
the smartphone is, she says, smartphone clever people.
I made my film on an iPhone too.
Yeah, it can be done, especially when you're dealing with documentary films. It's such a, tool that needs to be very, very well used. So in her workshop, Ching, I'm sure will describe to you. By the way, she just sends a message. She says it is on Tubi, the film, if you want to see it. Yeah.
Where is it at?
Tubi.
Oh, Tubi. Okay.
Tubi.
Mhm.
Yeah. And the way she was working with more than one phone, so that it was one phone stuck to the camera, to the car, and the other one in her hand, and she's driving. And it's like, wow, something else. Anyway, so who's next?
Wow.
I can go. I think Julia and I can go next.
Okay.
So our documentary that we are here to actually was funded by the city of Somerville and Somerville Arts Council. So our friend and co-producer who's not here on today, Kedrick Roy, he first found out about the funding and then just what the city was doing to raise more awareness toward BIPOC artists. So knowing my background in documentary filmmaking, Kedrick approached me with the idea, and then from there on, I loved the idea. I wanted to work, see what we can do with it. So I brought Julia into the project. So, so that's how we actually first got started. So, Julia, do you want to add anything else?
Yeah, I would just say it's not related to the film, but Lily and I have been working together since college, and we've been wanting to, even though we live in different cities and we've always lived in different parts of the country ever since then, this is our first time actually working together. And it was really, really great because I think as female artists and filmmakers ourselves, being able to highlight 4 different women who are also trying to use their art to raise awareness about racism, the way people are handling the pandemic. Like the pandemic brought up so much for everyone. And I think for me, we both went to school in Oregon. I'm from Oregon, I'm from Portland. And I always had that feeling that being, especially when I go back, I get this feeling that there's a lot of white people that have ideas of how they can support people of color. And I mean, same with me. And we don't really listen. And especially being from a predominantly white community and having lived other places and going back, I really see that sometimes people, they don't really know how to listen to one another and understand what it does to a community when it is predominantly white, and there are certain things that become, certain mindsets that become the norm. And so I think giving the platform to these 4 women to talk about their art, but then also talk about how they are processing the world and everything, all these revelations that people were coming to during the pandemic that had been a reality for them for years and for their whole lives, and using their art to communicate that within their community and start to kind of, take off the rose-colored glasses a little bit, I think was really important to us also as artists during that time. And especially for Kedrick and Lily too. I mean, I think that our whole film, we utilized a whole crew that was either BIPOC filmmakers or women, and that felt really good too.
Yeah, that's really cool because this year we did already in 2021 in August, early September, late August, early September, the first of the series of Rejoice, Resist, BIPOC Films, which meant films by and about BIPOC people, Black, Indigenous people of color. And it was a great success. So this year, we decided to come back and do the second edition of that one, even though it's the 10th edition of the festival. And we've always had Black, Indigenous, people of color films in the collection, but we wanted to put an additional emphasis on that. And one of the screenings on the 20th at Dear Mama, after the MRHS screening, where Andre's film screening, there is another session, which is at Dear Mama. And there we are going to have a panel discussion following that with the filmmakers and invited guests. And we will address diversity and representation in films, which touches upon what you were just saying, because white people have an idea about how to represent people of color on screen or on stage, etc., which may not necessarily coincide with the idea that BIPOC people have of themselves. So these are important issues also that we need to address. All right, so Andre.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah, sorry, I was just so riveted by everybody's what they're saying. And I don't mean to take your place, Nora, but I just noticed there's every single film has an urgency to it. It's like the story has to be told now. There's like a time bomb kicking underneath the ticking underneath the table, and especially with Anthony was talking about the blind man, and Lily and Julia, and of course sorry, I forgot your name, the lady with the the African American lady with the nice hat. Here's my what happened to me. It was during the pandemic. I had actually lost my mom, so I was really versed in dealing with old people. I took care of her. She lived across the world in Egypt, and I had to fly out there a lot and take care of her. Really, just did everything like was there. So it was almost like the universe prepared me for this film in a way, because and it gave me back the gift of being a witness to this man, because he was a neighbor of mine in the neighborhood, and his wife would say, because we used to always have conversation for years. I've always met him, and she would call me up and she would say, by the way, he was married, and there's a beautiful love story in this too. She would say to him, Andre, you have to come over because he will not get up out of bed without you. So I would run over there, and I'd wake him up in the morning, and he'd give me this Marine salute. I was like, what do I know about Marines? I mean, and then I would dress him, and we would get to talk. And then the film came about, and I didn't really know, because I was in it so much. I'm really a guy, as Nora knows me, I'm really behind the camera kind of guy. But my years of being an actor years ago when I was a kid had to come in, and I stepped in, and I was involved myself into the story. I became a character in the story, and I had to be real, and I had to be myself. So that was also a learning experience, because there was no narrator sitting CBS News type of a person going like, and then I met him, and then this happened. You know what I mean? It had to be real. And so that was also brought another personal experience that was like another part of me had to come out, and I had to be present in my own film, and I ended up narrating it and everything else. So being present in the work itself is an incredible self-revelatory thing. You kind of get to know yourself in a different way. That I was actually a kind of a nice guy. I'm actually very, very altruistic. I didn't think I had that in me. And then so anyway, so long story short, when the film came together, I kind of needed, like support from, as far as like to make, because this really involves veterans, and it's a bigger story than me and my neighbor thing. And so I was able to get support from local, like the local PBS stations, to get the rights for music. I was talking to the Veterans Administration, got a little dime, a chump change from here and there, just to get me to the next step. Then, and I think this is something that comes up in documentaries a lot. the line between drama and document and reenactment. He told a story. I don't know. You have to see the film. If I'm going on too long, Nora, you can shut me up. He told a story about a baby that while he was there. I'm not going to give away the story, and it was long and very emotional. You just crying, but it was visually it was kind of static. Anyways, so I actually reenacted the a part of that scene very filmically because that's my background, with the baby carriage, and I staged it in such a way that it's innocuous. And so I crossed the line of hybriding the genre a little bit. And that was actually okay. So I was like discovering things. Finally, I just want to say something about the iPhones. Um, During the part when he got sick and his wife got sick with COVID, I had to go there a lot and be there for them. And there was absolutely no way I was going to drag a camera in there. You know what I mean? So that's why the iPhones happened. And I needed to actually do it very surreptitiously and very kindly. And they knew that I was rolling, but it wasn't so invasive as if I had a camera with the light on and here's the microphone and then you tag it onto your lapel or whatever. But so it really came in handy, but it's not. And then thank God for Premiere and mixed media, and we're able to make it look like it's part of everything. That's it. The end.
Wow, that is fascinating. It's true that what you're saying is all the films we screen have an urgency to them. And on this occasion, I want to say, not only to the people who are with us in the studio, but also to whoever is watching, that I'm always asked, what is the theme this year? And I tell them we don't have a theme because I don't decide the themes ahead of time. We let the filmmakers and the films that are submitted to us tell us what themes we need to tackle. Because if they made this film, it means that there is an urgency. It means that some story was clamoring to be told, and therefore they made the film, and therefore now we are seeing it as submitted to the film festival. So we look to see which are the best films, first of all, and then bring them up, and then we see what they are about. That's how the themes of the festival evolve. So we had to lose one of our people because I know he had said he was going to leave. Anthony, I completely forgot and we got carried away. We should have allowed him a little bit more time. But anyway, we'll catch up with him when, he says, I apologize, but I have to run. It was wonderful meeting everyone, and I can't wait to see all of your films. So we also ask a round of questions. Let me see if any audience members have asked questions that we need to address at this point. Okay, I have a question here for Jenny, says somebody, Kunjal's view. Yeah. And can you please share some more info about the graphics in your film?
Sure. So our film incorporates, it's mostly archival from the civil rights movement, from also Philip Randolph was a labor leader, as well as Bayard Rustin was involved with labor. So it's a lot of archival. And so we wanted to kind of bring that to life. And we worked, our editor, James Rutenbeck, and our co-producer, Sabrina Aviles, we worked with this really talented animator and designer, Diego Contino, who is in Los Angeles. And so it was really about, there was sort of a lot to establish and help people understand. It was very much a sort of a group effort. And so how do you kind of get a sense that it was a group and collective effort led by particular people? And so the graphics allowed us to show both kind of like the progression of the effort to put forth a freedom budget, but also like the multitude of people that they were able to get involved and behind the idea. So we we really had a lot of fun working with Diego to kind of bring the archival and the graphics together into a singular language.
Yeah, it's always interesting because especially when you're dealing with historic films and you cannot recreate, some documentaries recreate with actors and all that, but it still looks kind of staged, not really, but the graphic situation, especially when it's dealing with the heavy topics and some wars and genocides and things like that, it's not possible to portray the magnitude of these things except with graphics. But of course, it needs to be well done. And yours is really one of those cases. So, yeah, so that was a very valid question. Let me see if we have other questions. Well, I don't see any. If there are out there to ask us, please put it in the comments and we'll get back to them. And we have Zifar Goli, who has joined in from Iran, I think. I'm glad she was able to join in. And she's one of the filmmakers with a film that we are screening online. And Ching is still with us. So the next question we usually ask is about the festival. How did you find out about the Socially Relevant Film Festival, and what brought you to us? And also, what do you expect to get out of this experience? So anybody who wants can jump in.
I mean, as I was saying earlier to some of the filmmakers, this is Lily and my first film festival that we've done with this film. And so we're just really happy to be part of it. We found it on Film Freeway, and I think we're just looking for festivals that would fit, the themes in our film. And we're just really excited to be a part of it, meet other filmmakers, see how the process works, share a film with people. And yeah, I don't know if Lily has anything else to say.
Yeah, I think everybody has their own story. I think it's important to share. So it was fascinating for Julie and I to learn about these people and understanding their story and experiences. So we were just very happy to, share their voices with the rest of the world and other people. However far it can reach, we just wanted to share it with the
Yeah.
people.
It's very interesting. And as we are on the theme, let me say something about film festivals. A lot of times we get amazing films because people do the research and find out what we are about and what kind of films we're looking for. But a lot of times it also happens every once in a while, the odd film here and there that has nothing to do with what we're about. And it's full of gun violence and killings and animals being slaughtered and, everything that we are not standing for. And I go, hey guys, didn't you read the guidelines? Please read to see what this festival is about before submitting. So one secret when you're submitting a film is to know which festivals to apply to. You don't just go across the board and submit everywhere, because it doesn't help anybody in that way. And and as I said earlier, we don't choose the themes and let them just float to the surface as we go along. So who else wants to say about
I have to say something about your festival, Nora. So I was in your festival. I think it was 2016 with a drama, and it was such an incredible experience because there's something that's really international about your festival because of who you are and the tentacles that you've reached and the pools you swim in, theater, film, and you've worked with people in Europe and here and Armenia and Russia and Egypt and all these places. And so that is something that was really, really attractive to me because I wanted to get the story out to different kinds of people. So, I had, the memory of how great that festival was. And, the films that not just my film, but the films that I saw there. And I kind of wanted to actually, and I'm not tooting my own horn or anything, to be in this festival. I had options to kind of wait and be in these other, I'm not going to even give them the names because I was in them. and I don't want to for this particular film. I did not think of, because of the subject matter and the intimacy. I wanted it didn't want it to be in any other festival but this festival, because it was a choice. Like, it's like you go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. You know what I mean? And so this is kind of that was a choice that I made, and I'm really happy the filmmakers that once again, a good, you mix a good salad. So I'm looking forward to the film and seeing some of these films. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I'll remember that, to go where I am celebrated, not tolerated.
Yeah,
That's a great thing
story of
to
my life.
remember, because a lot of times, I mean, filmmakers, and I'm also an actress first and foremost, so we're always like, a very old friend of mine, unfortunately is not around anymore, used to say, do you want to be loved or do you want to be respected? And then you stop and think for a second. Yeah, we are all wanting to be loved. We are all wanting to be liked. Oh, please like my film. Oh, please love me. Oh, please, you know. And then you realize that no, that's not the thing. You have to go where you are actually appreciated and celebrated, and not be so desperate about it. And that's why we really appreciate all the filmmakers who come to us. And I keep saying, this is a filmmakers film festival, because we are nothing without these films. What do I do if we're not screening these films? Then I'll sit and watch telenovelas on Mexican television, or whatever. And anyway, so who else wants to? Yeah.
I have to say, I've been looking, when I go on Film Freeway, there's so many choices and there's so many options. And it's a little overwhelming for a filmmaker, when you're not used to this. But I was looking for films that would really care about the subject matter and care about meaningful stories. And then your festival, I have to admit, I missed the notification from you originally, and I so appreciate that you called me and got in touch with me. But I look at what you're doing, and it's so classy, to be honest, and it seems so well put together. I was also realizing in the process of this film festival thing, is the film festivals that have been around for a while, like yours, have weight and validity to them. There's a lot of stuff that pops up on Film Freeway that's, just you're sending in somewhere, and somebody's making some money on the entrance fees, and it's not a real event. Whereas yours seems to be a really solid experience, and I'm really looking forward to it. It just seems like a lovely experience. So
Thank you so much for appreciating it, because again, I mean, I spend so many sleepless nights, as you might all know, because you get emails at 3 a.m. or something like that. And but I thrive on the love that I have for the filmmakers, and how difficult it is to put something together, and the fact that we are humbly able to provide that much needed platform to make these voices heard. And what you say is so true. There are so many film festivals out there that don't care. They don't even screen. Right. A lot of them, online or in person. They don't screen. Some of them, you just give the money for the entrance fee, and then they do awards. Okay, this film got first, second, whatever, and then that's it. And as a filmmaker myself, I have a film that was out in a number of festivals and became finalist and semi-finalist. And I even won an award at Toronto Independent Film Festival for it, as a female filmmaker of a short. When I was starting to submit, I would get a lot of text messages from festivals, and hounding me on Instagram, on Twitter. And I'm like, how did they find out about me? But then, oh, we loved your project, and we would love you to give you X number of percentages off to submit. And I'm like, wow, we don't do any of that. We're just sitting there waiting for the filmmakers to come to us, and also make sure that everything at least has a in-person screening. Very few films are ending up this year not getting an in-person screening, only because we don't have the means to provide screens for everyone. And I apologize for that, because if we were heavily funded by some huge organization, then we would do a 1 month long festival and screen everybody's films.
Yeah.
So, did we all go? Yeah, I think so. So my next question is, what are your next projects, or do you want to talk about something that is in the pipeline, or trying to get together, or whatever that you might want to share with us?
Sure, I can go. So I am currently working on a project with one of my colleagues from the A Call to Action, Sabrina Aviles. We're co-directing a documentary about the city of Chelsea, which is here in Massachusetts. It's just a bridge across from Boston. It's a majority immigrant Latinx community, and it's the community that our film about universal basic income, Raising the Floor, is about. But we had started filming during the pandemic because it was all it was hitting the headlines because it was the epicenter of COVID in Massachusetts, and the pandemic basically kind of pulled back the curtain on a lot of issues going on in Chelsea, long-standing inequities. And so we have been really struck by the way in which the community has come together, and the way in which there are long-term community leaders there that have grown up and really have worked to shape Chelsea and what they would like it to become. So we're kind of following that story right now, and it's one of the twists and turns of this is when people are working to improve their community and it starts to gentrify, then the people they were trying to improve it for can't always partake in that vision that they've had. So, and then some of the community leaders are now moving on to state level. So what does that mean? Sort of what kind of impact can you have when you're kind of removed a little bit from the community, but also have a position that has quite a bit of power. So those are some of the things that we're looking at in this film, and we're really enjoying working on the film together. So
very, very interesting. Yes. Who else?
I'll go.
I think for
You go.
No, I was just gonna say, I think for Julia and I, going back to what she was saying earlier, that, since we went to college together and worked on a lot of documentaries and projects while we were in school. So after graduation, we kind of pursued our own career, and now coming back together. And this is the biggest project we have done. So this was definitely a great encouragement for us that we like, oh, okay, we want to do more, and we still got it. So I think in the future, our goal really is, again, focusing on stories on minorities and immigrants, so I think that will always be our focus, and we are striving to tell more of those stories.
Nice. It's really amazing that you've been working with each other since school, and it's just unbelievable, and you're still talking to each other.
I know, 10 years.
Lily also has a very cool project we kind of started a few years ago, but then it's been on pause. But there's a runner from Mongolia that goes to the New York Marathon as much as she can, and she's disabled and brings people who are disabled with her. And so we put on pause because we didn't have any funding, we didn't have the right camera equipment. That was several years ago, and now I think we're kind of looking at a way to start pursuing that again. Could change, but yeah, that was the project Lily had in mind, and I think would be great to continue.
Wow. Very interesting. Who else? One more?
I'll go. I'm working now. I started a project. I'm very interested in mixing documentary and narrative in a film, and my other part of my life is I'm an environmental activist. So I'm working in the real life on protecting water supplies and water in the Hudson Valley. And something that's actually truly happening is New York City's water supply from the Catskill Reservoir is being actually stopped before it gets to New York City. And nobody seems to know about it. So it's part documentary and it's part narrative, because it's a story of a young woman. The narrative part is a story of a young woman who sort of unravels the whole underbelly and corruption of what's going on. It's sort of a Chinatown, but the documentary part is what's actually truly happening. They're putting in pipes, they don't have permits, they're going to be diverting a large chunk of New York City's water supply away from New York City. And nobody in New York City cares. We've talked to people in the government, and there's so much corruption on that end. So it's sort of a hybrid feature kind of project that I'm developing right now. And we're shooting it.
Yeah. Yeah. Unaccountability and impunity. These are topics that really, really get me. And I get so mad and angry, and I become incapacitated. I don't know what to do, because a lot of times the people against which your anger is directed, they are in such power positions that, they have the capacity of, like, putting the hand on the face and trying to shut you up, and even worse, so.
And we can win these cases. We do win the cases in the law, in court, but then they come back with the exact same project again. They wait a few years, they don't change anything, and they'll just wait you out. Basically, they try to,
exactly.
So I think that film is really the way to tell these stories and get them out in the open, because people don't even know what's going on.
And people change, positions change. Like somebody who's working on the on the regional level becomes promoted. They are now on the state level, so they have no access anymore. And the people that were working with them have moved on, and then you have to start from scratch. So, and then the bribes and the corruption that goes on. So it's really crazy.
I'm following kind of in Susan's footsteps. Born out of this project is as I was shooting, and when the film aired on the local PBS station here, there's these guys who shoot a lot of birds, eagles, ospreys, flamingos, herons, all these in the estuaries in Florida. And I've noticed that, after talking to them, how the environment is getting, because of the developers, the more hotels, more high rises, and the pollution of the rivers have gotten so bad that actually the beaches are closed and everything else right now. So I started shooting with these guys who follow the birds and stuff like this, and it's in the same time it's beautiful and tragic, but you learn so much about us human beings through the wildlife. So I started doing that with, just because these guys kind of heard about this film that I just did when it aired, and they really liked it. And some of them were veterans, and that's what they're doing with their retirement. They're shooting beautiful birds and eagles and stuff like this. And I mean, they're really into it. And some of these photographs are on National Geographics and the Audubon Society and stuff like that. So they're kind of like pros, and they know what's going on with the environment. So I figured that this is where I can make a difference. That old adage, if don't get angry, do something about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if I could just spread the word about what's going on. So.
Well,
Yeah.
you said shooting. I thought you meant shooting like killing until the
no,
end.
No. They're photographing. Yeah.
Well, this is really great. Like I say, and also by talking to each other and creating this community feeling. Later on in March, we have 3 scheduled cine cafe sessions. in the morning when everybody can come together and just chat like this and talk about their projects and maybe find collaborators or find resources from different projects and share with each other. That's the whole idea of not just being a film festival that screens and takes the submission fees and that's it. And then also we collaborate very closely with a number of industry partners. And I am proud to say that a lot of our films go on to getting distribution. And we have a bunch of such films that are out in commercial circuits right now. It's not only thanks to the festival, but also the festival has contributed in an important way to that. So I'm showing another comment. Great discussion. Thanks, everyone, says your friend Kunjal's View. And Ching has sent us a great message as well, a heart. And she says, you get to eat and drink too. Is that for me? I guess so. So I don't have to forget to eat. And yeah, so I'm going to start wrapping up. We still have some time. I will give you an opportunity to come in with last minute comments, but let me just tell everybody about our early bird tickets. Only $7. That's a big latte or whatever it is that you drink. Or you can't even get a glass of wine now in New York for that amount. It's more like on the 12 to 15 range. So early bird tickets, which are not for specific films. I'm taking this opportunity to explain that. The regular ticket is $12 for a particular film. When you go on the ticket button, you'll see all the films listed and you can purchase a ticket for a particular film. But to benefit from the early bird, which is a temporary situation, it's going to end soon. You purchase the ticket without specifying which film it's for. And when the time comes and it expires, an email is sent to whoever is holding those tickets, and they then specify what films they want to use them for. Let's say you purchase 10 early bird tickets. You can use them, 5 of them for one film or 2 for one film, the others for 3 films or whatever. So you mix and match as you wish. And there is a great deal also, $100 all access pass, which is also an early bird. And this is really a great deal because the opening VIP ticket alone for both films, the reception and the opening ceremony, is $50. So already you're spending half of that. And then with the rest of it, you get access to everything on offer during the festival. So now that I've done my commercial pitch, let me come back and say, okay, guys, whoever, or gals, or one guy and all the ladies, first of all, let me also take this opportunity and announce that on March 8th, it has become a tradition with us now for the past few years. We do a webinar at 1:30 with all the women filmmakers in each year's selection. And again, this year, it's almost close to almost 50%. And we don't do that on purpose. We don't just go looking for the female filmmakers and say, oh, look how many women we have. We just go for the best films. And then when the end, we look at how many women filmmakers and how many men filmmakers, and we see that it's usually 50-50. But unfortunately, that 50-50 percentage is not reflected in the real life situation with the film industry. So anyone wants to add last minute comments or say something? Very wise words like, and Andre, I won't forget, you have to go where you are, what? Loved? No.
No, celebrated.
Celebrated, not tolerated.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wanted to say, you know, being newer to the festival circuit, I think sometimes you work on a film and you feel really in a silo and you're like, is anyone going to see this, or is anyone going to care? And so it feels really good to meet some of the filmmakers and meet you, Nora, and see, you know, I can read online what the festival's about, but I'm actually starting to feel it, and that feels really good. So thank you for putting it together.
Yeah, that's why a few years back, I decided to have these chats early on. Because it's a preparation. You can post this chat after it's finished. It's going to be on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page, but you can put the link on your Facebook page as well. That way, more people know about it. They get a feel of who these people are. We don't have to squish everything into the festival week, but there is a preparation period and we get to talk to each other. And to be honest, it's very selfish too. I don't feel as lonely sitting, writing emails and organizing this, organizing that, and saying, oh my God, I forgot to write to so-and-so and do that. And then I talk to real people and I go, and then I am reminded why I'm doing all this. And I thank you for that. So we are at 30. Does anybody want to still add something?
Just want to thank you very much for everything you're doing.
Very grateful for your service.
Very grateful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks to that, we've been able to come 10 years and hopefully we'll keep going. Sometimes I say, oh, enough already. I should focus on my acting. But then, you know, actually good things do come of it. I just shot a film, a feature film in a lead role in Spain with a filmmaker who was one of our filmmakers last year from Finland, Rax Rinikangas, and I am so happy about that. So you see, miracles do happen in
what part of Spain?
In Santo Domingo de Silos.
Okay.
In the middle and near.
Close in the middle. Okay.
Yeah. Let me close end the broadcast, and we can hang around a little bit yet.
Thank you.
Okay. So thank you everybody for watching.
Thank you.
Tune in on Thursday and Saturday, same time, 1:30 p.m. And we'll tell you more stories with more filmmakers. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Nora.
So there we
I
go.
have a